Let me ask you something before we begin. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, I should have handled that better, whether it was about money, time, or respect? If so, you're not alone. And today, we're going to talk about why that happens and how to change it. Welcome to Mind Matters Expert. This is where we break down practical mindset tools and real-life psychology that actually work in everyday situations. Negotiation isn't something only lawyers or business executives do. You negotiate every single day. You negotiate your salary, your rent, your deadlines, your time, and even your personal boundaries. Once you understand this, negotiation stops feeling intimidating and starts feeling empowering. At its core, negotiation is not about money, it's about people and psychology. And that's where everything really begins, inside the mind. Before numbers ever enter a conversation, emotions already have. People don't make decisions logically first. They decide emotionally, and then use logic to justify those decisions afterward. Everyone wants to feel respected, understood, and safe. Psychologically, people hate losing more than they enjoy winning. They protect their ego and self-image. And, they care deeply about fairness. So if someone feels pressured, embarrassed, or cornered, they'll resist, even if your offer actually benefits them. That's why the goal of negotiation isn't to overpower anyone. It's to create comfort and clarity. Now, one of the quietest ways to gain power in any negotiation is preparation. Real confidence doesn't come from being aggressive or loud. It comes from knowing where you stand. Before you negotiate anything, you need to know three things. First, what the fair value is. Second, what your ideal outcome looks like. And third, where your walkaway point is. When you have that clarity, your anxiety drops. And when anxiety drops, you stop agreeing to things just to escape discomfort. That's why prepared negotiators naturally sound calmer. They don't rush. Their voice is steadier because they know their options. Another thing most people underestimate is listening. Most negotiations fail not because of bad offers, but because no one feels heard. The strongest negotiators actually talk less and listen more. They ask simple questions like, what matters most to you here? Or, what's your biggest concern? And then they stop talking. They let the other person speak without interruption. Psychologically, feeling heard builds trust, and trust opens doors that pressure never will. Silence might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's not awkward. It's strategic. Early in the conversation, there's also something powerful happening in the background, whether people realize it or not. The first number, idea, or expectation mentioned tends to set the tone for everything that follows. This is known as anchoring. So, that's why starting with a confident price, referencing industry standards, or framing value before cost can, dramatically influence the final outcome. Even if the deal shifts later, that initial anchor quietly shapes where it lands. The key here is confidence, not perfection. Aim high, but stay reasonable. As the conversation continues, emotions can easily get tangled up. And honestly, that's where many negotiations fall apart. When people feel attacked, the brain shifts into defense mode. Logic shuts down. Solutions disappear. That's why it's so important to separate the person from the problem. Instead of arguing with someone, shift the focus to solving something together. Use neutral language like, let's look at this option, or how can we adjust this? When emotions stay low, the brain stays open. And that's when progress happens. Something else that quietly influences every negotiation is framing. The way you present an idea can completely change how it's received, even if the idea itself stays the same. Here are some examples of powerful psychological framing. For example, saying you'll save money feels better than saying you'll spend less. Saying this reduces risk feels safer than saying this increases efficiency. The human brain is, wired to avoid pain more than it's motivated to chase gains. So instead of framing your offer as pressure, frame it as protection. It just feels more reassuring that way. Another simple but powerful tool is explaining your why. People resist demands, but they respond to reasons. Even a basic explanation, honestly, lowers resistance. Instead of saying, I need a discount, you might say, I'm working within a fixed budget, and this would help me move forward today. That small shift creates understanding, and, psychologically, understanding really reduces defensiveness. Throughout all of this, emotions are constantly in play, even when everything looks calm on the surface. Great negotiators pay attention to tone changes, body language, hesitation, and defensiveness. At the same time, they manage their own emotions by slowing their speech, taking pauses, and staying curious instead of reactive. Calm people tend to feel powerful, even when they say very little. One of the most important mindset shifts in negotiation is, honestly, just knowing when to walk away. Desperation is always felt, even if it's never spoken. The moment you realize you can walk away, you stop negotiating from fear, and that alone, really changes the dynamic. Walking away isn't failure. Actually, it's self-respect. And finally, the best negotiations don't feel like battles at all. They feel like collaboration. Instead of trying to win, both sides look for ways to create value together. Questions that create win-win outcomes like, how can we make this work for both sides, or what flexibility do we have here, really invite cooperation instead of conflict. And when both people win, the relationship lasts, and so does the value. So, when you step back and look at negotiation as a whole, it's not about being clever or aggressive. It's really about clarity, empathy, and emotional awareness. Once you understand human psychology and your own mindset, you stop settling for less. You start shaping outcomes that truly work for you. And, honestly, that's the real power of negotiation. Before you go, just think about one conversation coming up in your life, whether it's about work, money, or a personal boundary, and ask yourself which of these tools you can apply right away. Thanks for watching Mind Matters Expert. If this video added value to your day, give it a like, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe for more practical mindset and growth content. Drop a comment, and I'd love to hear how you're applying these tools in your life. See you next time. Stay focused and stay empowered.